This episode of Warp 5 is brought to you by Audible.com, offering more than 180,000 titles for smartphone, tablet, and desktop. To get a free audiobook of your choice and help Trek FM at the same time, visit audibletrial.com/trekfm. And also by Enterprise in Space, an international program of the non-profit National Space Society. Find out how you can help science and education and become a virtual crew member aboard the NSS Enterprise Orbiter by visiting enterpriseinspace.org. And if you want to join in on the conversation and share your thoughts on this episode or any other, please join the Babel Conference, our listeners group on Facebook. Just type Babel, that's B-A-B-E-L, into the Facebook search field. We look forward to seeing you there.
This is Manny Cotto, executive producer of Star Trek Enterprise. You're listening to Warp 5 on Trek FM.
How we doing, Trip? Ready when you are. Prepare for warp.
Course laid in, sir. Request permission to get underway. Let's go.
Welcome, Boomers, to another episode of Warp 5, Trek FM's dedicated Enterprise show. I'm your host, Floyd Dorsey, and I'm joined, as always, by the Chief Engineer, Brandon Shea Mutala. How's it going, Brandon?
I'm doing really good, and Floyd, that is one fine outfit you were looking good in green.
Yes. I try to impress the ladies, especially the green ladies.
Well, you're impressing me.
Yes. And apparently it wouldn't even matter with the dance moves. Like they could probably just sit there in sweaters and be totally fine, or just cover themselves up, because it doesn't even matter what they do. So, Boomers, given that clue, you can probably tell we're talking about some Orion women here, or maybe I hope you were thinking that. And yeah, no kidding. They went off on a wrong path right there, right?
I can't even come up with something funny, because I don't know what else they would have been thinking about. So,
right. So yes, we're going to be watching. We're actually going to be doing a commentary of the season 4 episode Bound. So this is where Archer gets the full Orion treatment. Basically, he gets shook down by some Orions. So, Brandon, before we get going on this, what's your memories of watching Bound?
I thought it was interesting that they tried to come up with an in-canon solution to modernize the Orions, because the Orions are such a cornerstone of Star Trek. The Orion slave girl is like it's so associated with Star Trek, even though we haven't seen it very much, right? Like Vina from the Cage in the Menagerie is so identified with Star Trek, but it's not the most politically correct type of character to have on screen anymore. So how do you deal with this in a prequel series that's set 30 some years later? So I like that they tried to do something. I'm just not sure that they did a good job of it.
Right. Well, yeah, the first, we're starting like right from the Cage. And if you think back of the Cage, that was a really creepy scene, even for the Cage back then, when they were sitting there all ogling Vina and talking about basically buying her or being a slave trader or something Pike was thinking about doing. And it was like, that's really odd, you know? But I guess even in this day, we could always write it off that it's not humans doing it here. I guess it's an alien species that's not as far along. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. But Warp 541 actually had Crystal Allen, that played Dinesh, was actually interviewed by Christopher Jones on here. And they talked about that. So Boomers, you want to go back and check that out. Also in Warp 552, they talked about Orions on Enterprise.
And if you want to go check out episode 10 of The Edge, we actually just did a commentary of The Cage, right?
Oh, cool.
And I give my opinions on the scene with Captain Pike and the Orion slave girl scene. So I talk about what my feelings are on that scene in that commentary, which it's a good
Okay.
commentary. You should check it out.
Very good. And we'll just save that then for the Edge.
Yeah.
Keep everyone in suspense, right? Before we get going, though, on the commentary, we wanted to jump back really quick on some feedback for the past few shows. Brandon was able to actually wrangle down some basically Babel Conference chit-chat that we had going on our posts. And if you'd like to get in on the talk, you can always go to Facebook group, the Trek FM Facebook group, Babel Conference, BABEL. Just type that into your search field. You can get right in there and you can join in all the fun. Let's go ahead and let's hear the Warp 5 email.
Yeah, so we've got a Warp 5 email, which we're going to start with here, and it is from Brad Alexander in Virginia. And Brad pointed out a mistake that I'd been making. And Brad said apparently he's the only one who actually downloads the episodes directly from the website, because I had created all the download links wrong. I had copy and pasted something when I started doing it, and they all said Melodic Treks / and then the Warp 5 number. So they weren't downloading Melodic Treks episodes. I had just created it wrong. So thank you very much, Brad. We really appreciate you bringing that to our attention. They're all fixed now. We went all the way back and fixed them all. But then he also says, for the record, I recently did my first complete watch-through of Enterprise, and it really grew on me. Full disclosure, I also just watched Babylon 5 from beginning to end. Enterprise has now passed Voyager in my rankings of favorite Trek series, which is DS9, TOS, Enterprise and TNG as a tie, and Voyager. And I will point out that he did write Enterprise / TNG as a tie. So in my opinion, Enterprise is higher than TNG on his list. What do you think, Floyd?
Yeah, that's definitely how I see it. It also comes for, in alphabetical order, that E would definitely come before T, and chronologically in the universe, of course, Enterprise comes first, and everybody's, no matter how anybody wants to slice it.
Yeah, and I would say that's exactly my rating as well. DS9, TOS, Enterprise and TNG are basically a tie. Probably like Enterprise a little bit more because I'm hosting the Enterprise podcast with Voyager bringing up the rear, but that's just because they're way in the Delta Quadrant and they just haven't caught up yet.
Yeah, I flip-flop. I flip, and I have TOS 1, Enterprise 2, DS9 3, but those are really, really close for me. So, and they all are related to the same thing. DS9 was very influenced by original series, and then the Enterprise was very influenced by original series because it was going to be the prequel for the original series.
Yeah.
So, all right. So yes, boomers and listeners there, if you want to also send in a Warp 5 email to us, you can send it to us. Just by going to trek.fm/contact. You can choose send to a show and select Warp 5. That comes right to us. So thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
So getting to the feedback on the Babel Conference on our Facebook page, we had episode at 118 Dead Stop commentary. So for episode 118, Justin Oser came back with his comment was great commentary for one of my very favorite Enterprise episodes. Thanks. And Justin actually gave us quite a bit of feedback on this.
Yeah, he did.
So he had mentioned distress calls because we had wondered about when did the hero ship ever put out a distress call? And he said that he thought that we were right in that disaster, that the hero ship of the series transmits a distress call. However, it's really something that in Star Trek IV, Earth itself transmits a distress call. So actually, I'd forgotten about that.
Mm-hmm.
And Justin also mentioned that he loved Roxanne Dawson's directing and that she had also directed a couple of episodes of Voyager. And the first reference to pan-fried catfish, we'd actually wondered about that, was in season 1 episode Unexpected.
Yeah, that's when they had put their hands in that thing and they were trading thoughts and stuff. So yeah, I forgot about that one.
Alien ice. Don't put your hand in alien ice, folks, when you go visit another ship.
And then we were asking about the Cardassian, because there was apparently a Cardassian. And so if you go to the Babel Conference, he's posted a screenshot there. If you just search for the thread for our Dead Stop commentary in the Babel Conference, he posted a picture of the Cardassian that's in the episode. And then because we were talking about the catfish, Patrick Carlin posted this awesome picture of him holding up this giant pike that he'd got fishing. And he says, I caught this one while fishing with my uncle and cousin back in June on Bone Lake in Wisconsin. So I thought that was pretty awesome to see that picture of him fishing. It was a massive pike, too. It was really big.
Yeah. Even catfish can get really big, like
they?
really, really big, like big enough that a small person could climb in their mouth. If, down in the South, they have this thing they call noodling, where you basically, and it's called noodling. Basically, you put your arm in a hole in the side of the riverbank or whatever it is, and you reach in there, and if you find his mouth, you just reach in there and grab him by his gills through his mouth, and you pull him out. And that thing will be as big as your arm or your leg. I mean, it'll be huge. So I actually had friends that did that when I was growing up. I wasn't going to stick my hand in that, nothing like that.
Stay tuned for our new podcast coming called Noodlin', which is all about different ways of fishing.
Right. Different ways that you can almost get eaten by a catfish. There you go, Trip Tucker. It's all for you, man.
Patrick Carlin will be our first guest.
Yes. So then jumping to episode 119, the Jim Morehouse interview. That was Jim Morehouse was an extra on the Enterprise. Christopher Baca came in and he said that he saw it sounded like a blast to be on the set. Max Cervantes came in and said, one day I was an extra on TNG for a whole season.
And I got to say, it sounds like you got to be in touch with our TNG hosts of Earl Grey there. Maybe they can get you on for a little bit of a chat one day. Have you followed Max online?
No, I didn't.
Oh my goodness. This guy does a ridiculously awesome Planet of the Apes cosplay. And he did one where it was like a gorilla head, and he had like a TOS Yellow Command shirt on. It was epic. I'm like, dude, you got to marry me right now.
Nice.
It was awesome. So great job, Max. I love the Planet of the Apes, and your cosplay is just stellar. Great job.
That's great. That actually is a cover of one of the new Star Trek comic books.
Yeah.
It shows. I think it shows them wearing a uniform. Maybe one of the Planet of the Apes. Tim Cooper comes in and says, yet again, you guys have hit a home run with an episode. I drove around for an extra 15 minutes simply because I didn't want to stop listening. Keep up the great work. Ma, that is awesome. That actually made me smile so big when I read that comment.
That is the greatest compliment ever,
Right.
Like, I couldn't think of a better compliment. He's like, I went around driving for 15 more minutes because I didn't want to stop listening. Like a podcast, you can just pause it and pick it up at any time. Like, that is the greatest compliment we've ever received. So thanks, Tim.
Yeah, honey, I need to go to the store. Okay. So there you go. Marsha Pratt said, I am so behind on my Warp 5, but I caught this, and you guys are silly funny. So thank you so much, Marsha. And Amy Yulin said, I started watching Enterprise this summer and have been listening to the podcast in order, but I couldn't wait to listen to this episode. I, too, won a contest, but she said not in an auction, and appeared in 0 Hour. Listening to Jim's stories brought back a lot of great memories.
Maybe we need another guest spot talking about being an extra on Enterprise, hey?
Yes, that sounds good. So then our other group of comments came from episode 120, For Whom the Bell Tolls, and that's where Brandon and Mike Schindler did a little talk over the first movie of the Movie Night series. Corey Elrod came in and said, I listened to this on the way to work this morning. I've never viewed this film. I may check it out. And he mentioned that Friendly Persuasion and High Noon are his favorite Gary Cooper movies. Don't watch High Noon if you don't like songs stuck in your head forever. I'm looking forward to the next movie.
Well, Corey, make sure you tune in to Stage 9. I think it's episode 63. We actually covered the next film in the series on that show. I think we might be bouncing back and forth where we'll do one of them on Warp 5 and one of them on Stage 9, because Mike's really into this kind of thing as well. So we covered Sunset Boulevard, and we, as of the recording of this, we just recorded it 2 nights ago on Monday, but I think it was the episode that's going to be released on the 27th. So based on when this one came out, that should have been 2 days ago. It's hard because we record so far in the future. So check out this week's episode of Stage 9. I think that was the next movie.
Very good. Yeah, I like Gary Cooper. I've watched a lot of westerns in my time, and I like Gary Cooper. So that's cool. And then Brandy Jacala came in and said, as far as Ingrid Bergman playing someone Spanish, there is a big difference in appearance between people from Mexico and people from Spain. there are a ton of white people in Spain. It is Europe, and I find it far more difficult to believe Charlton Heston as a Mexican.
Yeah, so that was a comment that I felt we needed to address because, there's so much in Hollywood at this time where they do whitewashing and they had a white person play a person of color. And my comment was, what's more ridiculous, Ingrid Bergman playing a Spanish person or Charlton Heston playing a Mexican, right? Because they're both like these amazing white celebrities, right? And I like Brandy's response here. I never actually thought of it that way, that it is a more Eastern European and whatnot. So so yeah, we'll give that the ridiculous one to Charlton Heston. Yeah. Well,
we used to always make fun of that in Westerns when I was growing up, because they would always have like this Caucasian actor playing the Native American chief, and it was always really ridiculous because I don't know. It was funny. We made fun of it, but thank you so much, everyone, for your comments on our latest episodes here. And if you want to get in on the conversation, just go to the Babel Conference and find our show posts and get in on the fun.
You got it. Now, just before we jump into our commentary, I just want to give a plug for a sister show on the network here, Literary Treks. So just this month, just in September here, the new Enterprise novel came out called Patterns of Interference by Christopher L. Bennett, and these are the post-finale Rise of the Federation novels. And episode 203 of Literary Treks covers that book, so if you've read it and haven't listened to that podcast, you should check it out. Justin Ozer, who's an associate producer here on Warp 5 and has been a guests on that episode to talk about the book. As of this recording, I haven't actually listened to it yet because I haven't actually read the book yet. I'm a little bit behind on my books because I read a couple Stephen King's books this summer.
Very good. Thank you so much there, Brandon. So, folks, as with other commentaries, you can watch along or just listen along in your car. That's the way I do it. And I'm going to do the countdown, 3, 2, 1, play, and you can link it up, or you can just go ahead and watch the episode and then come back later and listen to the podcast. That's usually how I do it. I come back, watch the episode, then the next day I watch it in the car. So, or I don't watch it in the car. I watch it in my mind in the car. I think I made that mistake on the last commentary. Please don't watch it in the car and have a wreck and say it was Floyd's fault, okay?
Trek FM does not approve of driving in vehicles and watching shows.
Right. Okay, so we're going to try to get this started and get it all linked up here. Brandon, are you ready?
I was born ready, Nick.
All right. So let's do our countdown. 3, 2, 1, play.
Captain Starlog, December 27th.
December 27th? That's right after Christmas.
Yep. Getting our captain's log in.
So what do you think about them using dates instead of star dates for this? Do you think, it's a way to signify that it's beforehand, but did that ever bother you?
It did at first. But I just thought, well, it's way early. They haven't even thought of that system yet. So I guess we'll go with Earth dates.
Yeah.
Since it's mostly an Earthling ship. This is pretty funny right here, though. To Paul telling him about the reptiles that breathe fire.
Yeah, so here we are. We're right near the end of season 4. And it's like you said, when we decided to do this commentary, we were like, we got to find the episode. And we had forgotten which season it was in because, season 4 is mostly multi-episode story arcs. And so here we are with this one-shot episode. And I had forgotten that it was in season 4 myself as well.
Yeah, I did. I had trouble finding it. I was like, which disc am I on here?
I love this actor. This guy's great. I remember him from, I'm pretty sure he was on the X-Files episode, the not Clyde Bruckman's, the Jose Chung's from Outer Space.
Right.
But right off the bat, I mean, like, they look good. That green color, I think it's a really, good green. It's a little different than what we saw back in the cage, right?
And they have like, it looks like texture. I'm not sure if they did that on purpose or not, but the actual makeup looks like it has texture.
Well, when he comes on again, too, like, he's got, like, some kind of bone or something that's, like, a piercing through his cheek, I think it is.
Right. Oh, yeah, you really get to see it later in the episode. Like, they get a close-up of him and Archer's face. Mm-hmm. And, yeah, it does. It looks like a bone piercing or something, or some kind of a thorn or something through his cheek. But T'Pol just mentioned the survey team on Berengara 7, and the Vulcans reported that they had reptiles that actually were hundreds of meters long and breathed fire. So that was actually a deep, deep nod to the TOS episode, This Side of Paradise, where Spock mentioned seeing a dragon while visiting that planet. So
Really?
Manny Koto pulled a deep, deep cut on that one.
Wow.
Because I honestly have not ever caught that. I've watched original series. I don't know how many times. I've never caught that.
Manny Koto, I love you.
Kudos to Manny Koto. Thank you so much on that.
That's great.
You're targeting mine. Seems we're at an impasse.
Yeah, see there, it's like kind of like sticking out of his cheek or something. Like,
Yeah, it definitely looks like it's something he's being adorned with. And then his forehead has the kind of like veins, I guess. And then it almost looks like that headpiece has been like bolted on. I mean, he's almost bringing a Frankenstein look here to this. I mean, Frankenstein's monster usually is appeared like sometimes appears a shade of green. I mean, that looks like he's got bolts. He almost reminds me of Frankenstein here, or Frankenstein's monster.
so if I remember correctly, so we saw an Orion male earlier this season in the, I think it was in the Augment arc when T'Pol was on sale, when they put T'Pol up for sale in that Orion slave market, right?
Yep.
And that guy was played by Big Show. That's a great shot. Look at how awesome that is.
Yes.
Oh, I love that. And that was played by Big Show. But prior to that, we had never seen an Orion male, unless, of course, you count the completely different-looking Orions in the animated series, the Orions,
Right. Yeah,
which is disputable on whether or not they're actually Orions, but who knows?
So, given that the examples of the Big Show being an Orion male and this guy being an Orion male, it's the males are really, really large, and the females are apparently in charge.
Yeah.
Right.
Not large and in charge.
Right. Boy,
Now-
Kelby gets on my nerves here, man. Oh my goodness, he gets on my nerves.
Is this
Him and
the first time we've seen him?
No, but he has got a chip on his shoulder here because this is after Trip has come back from the
Oh, this
Columbia.
is after. Okay.
Trip's come back from the Columbia. He's trying to work on the repairs, and Kelby is just acting like a little spoiled brat, man. He looks like he definitely needs to drop down maybe a rank or so.
Yeah. Well, he was doing a bad job as chief engineer in that two-parter. I couldn't remember if that was before this one or not, or if this was after. Again, it's like, where in the season does this... But I guess, yeah, if this is episode 17, then the next one is Demons in Terra Prime, isn't it? Or how many were in season 4? 22?
Well, we have the In the Mirror Darkly series after this, and then we have the
Demons in
Terra Prime.
yeah.
Yep.
I like this outfit on her. Like, my favorite T'Pol outfit is the white one.
Mm-hmm.
But this one's nice, too. I like that they gave her the Commander Pips.
It looks more comfortable. Like
Right.
that's kind of like a velour-ish looking. It just looks more comfortable to me. I don't know. Like she's just softer. Her hair is natural. I mean, I think that's actually her hair. That's Jolene Blalock's hair.
Mm-hmm.
And then she just looks comfortable. And I mean, if I was one of those officers wearing those jumpsuits, I would be, I would be a little bit jealous, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Why does she get to wear the comfortable outfit? We get to wear the overalls. This is so neat. And this reminds me so much of The Cage. So much of The Cage.
See, I think of you think of the Cage too, but I also think of what's his name, Baylock in the Corbomite maneuver.
Yes,
right?
yes. Offering him the drink.
Tranya.
So notice that that's blue, but when he poured it in the glass, we didn't get a blue color.
Well, it kind of
was
mixed. Like the blue's in the middle of the cup, right? Because
Oh,
those
I
other
gotcha.
two were already there.
Oh, I
I'm
gotcha,
guessing
I
that's
gotcha.
Romulan ale. I don't know. I'm just guessing off the top of my head. That's Romulan ale. There's
Right.
probably Tranya in there too, right?
Right, that would be so cool if they
That
mentioned
orange
that.
stuff. It's like some weird mix.
And then we've got a mention of the Gorn just before this. And that's the first time chronologically that the Gorn have ever been mentioned.
Yeah, there. Look at that bone out of his face. Like, that's crazy.
He's got another one that's even more elaborate on the left side that I hadn't
on
noticed.
his neck there. That's got to be like a decorative thing. Like, that can't be something that was actually...
And in walks the entertainment. Actually, it's Slinks the Entertainment. All right.
Slinks. That's a great shot where the three of them pop out.
Yes. That surprised me the first time I saw it.
It surprised me every time I see it. You forget. It's like, oh, there's only one. Oh, there they are.
They're very cat-like in their movements. Like, they jerk their heads, and it reminds me of cats.
So I think it's the one on the left that the interview was with. On episode 41 of
yes,
Warp
you're
5?
right. You're right.
Crystal
On Archer's left, in that case. Yeah, and this is where I really noticed the things in his jaw, because the camera comes right up in his face. I'm pretty sure all three of these girls are blonde, but the characters they're playing here are Orion, so they have like the super dark hair. But I think in real life they're all blonde.
Yeah.
Also, the main girl that plays, I believe her name. I don't want to get her name wrong. Do you remember what the middle girl's name is?
There's Dinesh is one of them. Is the only one I remember.
Dinesh. She actually played Zial on DS9. A version of Zial.
Oh yeah, yeah. I think you're right on that. Yeah, that's ringing a bell. One of the three, anyways.
Yeah.
It's funny they got the Makos with them, and they don't really. The Makos aren't really reacting; they're just kind of sitting there. The editing's neat because it's so rapid, right? To kind of like enunciate their uncomfortableness and
right. It's kind of funny. I watched this earlier on 1.5 speed, and they really get to moving. And the scenes cut the scenes cut really quick.
Okay, now we're out of the scene now, but I got to say that pig that they're roasting with the spines, that's got to be a targ.
Right. That would have been a nice drop.
I don't know if they said it or not. It's been a while since I've watched this episode, but
so Archer's completely bought in at this point. He's telling T'Pol, like, this is what we're doing and this is how we're doing it, and every idea that guy had was good, especially after the girls came out and danced.
So my general idea is I think a lot of people are not too happy with this episode. That's like, from what I've heard online and what I've read online, people are generally not satisfied with how this went.
Because the girls were being subjected? Or just in general, like Star Trek?
No, because they didn't think that it worked. Like, how they tried to make it that they're not really slaves, they're really the masters.
Uh-huh.
Like, from what I've read online, it's not been received the most favorably. So
yeah, it didn't. I've tried to work that into my head canon, and it's difficult.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of jumping to a spoiler there at the end of the episode. But yeah, it's. I've tried to think of how it would work. How in the world would that work? Especially at the market when T'Pol was being. They were trying to market T'Pol in that episode you were talking about earlier, in the Augment arc, because they actually had a Orion slave girl up on the stage being bid on as a slave girl, you know? So I was just trying in my head canon, how does it work out that she's actually doing that on her, like, herself? That's her decision that she's doing that.
Right. Now, non-canon wise, have you seen Lolani from Star Trek Continues?
Yes.
Oh man, that episode is so good. So we had the guy that played Hulk. I can't remember his name off the top of my head here, but he was a
Lou Ferrigno.
Lou Ferrigno. Yeah. He played a male Orion in that, and he did a really outstanding job. That episode is really good. I think the first couple episodes of Star Trek Continues are like better than most of the original Star Trek.
Yep, I tend to agree. It's some really good stuff.
Now she's wearing purple.
I'm telling you, man. the officers, the other officers are jealous. Like Hoshi could have busted one of those out, you know. Travis probably would have wanted to have one like sleeveless or something, right?
One of these uniforms. But
One
this
of
is
a uniform like hers.
well, if I
made out
remember
like
correctly,
hers.
she's not even in the Vulcan whatever ranking system anymore either. Right? Like
she resigned.
She left.
Yeah, she resigned. So she's been given a commission in Starfleet. It's just kind of funny.
So if they gave her a commission, why wouldn't they make her wear a uniform? Because I mean,
I don't know, because she looks so good in a uniform.
Yeah, Twilight, right?
Yes. Just, I mean, I don't know. And then a lot of people say that. And they also say that about, like, Jerry Ryan's character on Voyager. You know, 7 of 9 looks really good in a uniform. So this is hilarious. We get to the gym scene, and they're trying to work them out of their minds, I guess.
Really? Yeah, I know.
This exchange is hilarious.
What are you trying to do?
They're in my head, you know? Yeah. What are you trying to do? Get them out of my head.
Anthony Montgomery is just so ripped. Look at that guy.
Yep. Pain helps. And it's funny because Malcolm's like, okay, I'll try anything. Yeah, okay, I'll try it.
We picked up some Deltans once. The ship was having engine trouble.
Mention of a Deltan. They had a Deltan on his ship when he was younger.
Very open about...
The reason why I'm so obsessed with Anthony Montgomery, just so in case people don't know, is because I'm really fat.
Oh. This is funny because, you know, he's mentioning like Aliyah on the motion picture was Deltan, and they talked about, you know, her vow of celibacy, and that's why she could work and that kind of thing. And then Anthony Montgomery's talking about how they picked up the Deltans, so that's a nice nod to some earlier Trek, you know,
Yep.
earlier history of Trek that we've had. And that, oh man, I just noticed that female crewman right over there gave a double take and a stare down when that Orion female walked in. Holy cow, she stared her down. If looks were phasers, that Orion girl would have had a hole blown through her.
It was no problem. Look,
And this is the last thing that Kelby needs.
There too.
Promised you show me engineering.
I know.
Harriet Sarr never let us leave our rooms.
And okay.
But it's an interesting that they put this here to add the tension between him and Tucker, right?
Right. When
So
it was
they
already there, actually.
Mm-hmm. But
This
this
is-
amplified it even more.
Oh yeah, big time.
What have you got for a headache?
Depends on what's causing it.
Just so everybody knows, does everybody know that John Billingsley's on Twitter now?
Yours.
Cool.
I think it's just John. I don't have my iPad. I'll check it out while we're talking here. I think it's at John Billingsley 60. So if you want to follow him, he just joined onto Twitter.
Oh my gosh, I just noticed Flock's hair right there is so disheveled. I have not ever noticed that before.
He probably woke up from a sleep cycle.
Passengers.
Oh my goodness. And she's complaining about a headache, and he's like, you know, someone else has had a headache, and
Oh, that's right, because it's affecting him to put him in his sleep cycle, isn't it?
right. I just noticed his hair. I have not ever noticed his hair before. He has got bedhead, and he hasn't even gone to bed yet.
John Billingsley's great.
Very nicely.
This is that one where I was talking about when we were in the favorite parts, and he like jabs himself with the thing. I forgot what episode it was, but it's this one. He just gives himself an extra shot in the neck. It's right away here.
Must be earning in a sleep cycle. Thought you just had one.
That's a good
Wow.
right there. Take it apart.
Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I'm pretty sure it's this episode. I remember clearly at some point he gives himself an extra injection. We'll keep watching here.
It must have happened.
That's all that matters.
We'll have to write an episode where that happens if we don't see it happen.
The episode where Phlox just keeps... He just gets addicted to something that he's like...
Jabs
injecting
himself in the
with.
neck, yeah. Man, Kelby already was on my nerves, and then it just gets worse.
So you don't like this guy, eh?
No, he's just a punk. He's just a punk.
J Billingsley 60. That's his Twitter account. Oh, and he finally got the blue check mark. There you go. Good for you, John.
Just ask her to leave.
He's so teenager-ish here.
Yeah, it's not the best subplot that we've had in Star Trek. But it's building on what we've seen already in this season, right?
Yep. We have conflict between Starfleet officers.
Gene Roddenberry would not approve.
That only applied whenever, unless they wanted to do it the other way, or unless he wanted to do it the other way. Because even on original series, there was conflict. McCoy would have a conflict with Spock, like every other episode.
Come in.
This reminds me of the Mirror Universe episode of original series right here. And I thought she was actually in his quarters at first. Is she in his quarters? Or she says, "You're coming to see me." So maybe he went to her quarters. But that reminds me of when Kirk walks into his Mirror Universe quarters and the female officer gets up off the bed. I don't know why that just kind of reminds me of that.
He's surprised to see her there.
Yep.
See, what I think of when I watch this episode is, when you mentioning the Mirror Universe, is a Mirror Universe comic. And I'm going to give a spoiler for it. I can't remember what issue it is, but it's a spoiler for a Mirror Universe comic. It's not the biggest plot point, but it takes place in the TOS timeline, and Kirk brings on some Orion slave girls, and in their uniform, they've got like the pieces that build that Tantalus device in his quarters. So that's how he smuggles that thing on board the ship.
Right. I've actually seen that comic.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So you know what.
And then he assigns McCoy or Scotty to put it together.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't remember what issue that was. I read so many comics like about 2 years ago. I just plowed through like all of the comics digitally.
Yeah, I got a ton of them through Humble Bundle a few years ago. So yeah, I'm not really sure which one it was.
Have you heard the story of the Cage and how they kept putting more and more green makeup on her, and they would send the film off to be processed, and it would come back and she would be normal skin tone because they kept color correcting because they thought there was something wrong with the film. So they kept redoing the scene of Vina as an Orion slave girl. They're like, why can't she come out green on here? And it's because when they sent the film off, they kept color correcting it because they thought it was an error with the film.
That's hilarious. I did not know that. I had heard, though, that now we talk about Command Gold and Science Blue and Engineering Red and all that for original series, but the actual uniform that William Shatner wore was a version of green, and it was color corrected and it appeared yellow when they actually like processed the film, and that's why we actually have Command Gold. Have you heard anything about that?
No. The only green that I'd ever heard would be his wraparound, right? Kirk's wraparound.
Apparently the actual Command Gold was not even gold. It was like a lightish green color. I may be completely wrong on that, but for some reason I thought that was from the books that were about each season.
The Cushman books?
Yes. Cushman actually mentions that. I'm almost positive. Either that or I'm just making it up.
Now, that's something we couldn't get on the original series. You can see the planet in the background on the screen, and the camera's moving.
Yep.
Oh, man, I love how technology has come along. See, we're recording this, and Discovery hasn't aired yet, right? So we haven't seen how the new show's going to look. But, I mean, I just can't wait to see it. It's going to look so awesome. I'm so excited. Discovery's coming in just a couple days.
I'm looking forward to, yes, the immersion that you can have.
There it is. Look at that shot. Oh, that looks so great.
Yes.
Just panning over and able to have that shot, you know?
Wow. That whole sequence was shot really well. Like it was almost like a handheld camera. And they spun around as if you're standing on the bridge and you turned your head and looked around. That's exactly what that would have been like. You're looking at Archer and then you spin around and you turn your head and you look at T'Pol. Wow, that was a great sequence.
Enterprise was looking so good. You know, these season 4 episodes just make me be like, man, why couldn't we had 3 more seasons? Ah!
If you just focus on what's happening behind them, there's so much movement going on the monitors.
Yeah.
And there's just so much stuff going on. Like so far from the jelly beans, the colored jelly beans of the original series.
Well, and then on the Discovery, they added those pipes behind the captain's chair, right? To differentiate the bridges.
Right.
Because we would get so confused or something, I guess.
Or on the Columbia. Yeah, the Columbia.
The Columbia, yeah. What did I say?
The Discovery.
Discovery, yeah, Columbia. Sorry, I got Discovery on the brain. 3 more days! 3 more days!
So it was mentioned in some places there that ship that was actually kind of provoking them was a Nausicaan. Like it could actually be a Nausicaan. So I can go with that. It looks kind of Nausicaan-ish.
You know what I'll grab while we're talking? I've got my Eagle Moss ones, and you know what? I think that's how they refer to it, as a Nausicaan ship as well. I'll go grab my books here. Oh, this is the shot. This is the one I was looking for when I wanted that show art.
Yes.
Bound, okay. I wanted a shot of the Enterprise from above, and I couldn't remember what episode it was from. I love this episode now. This is great. Look at all these awesome shots. Do you collect the Eagle Moss?
No.
No?
I went in. I almost started it, and I went in for a contest to win like a subscription to it or something. But then I was like, what if I win? My wife's going to kill me.
You know? Yeah, I've got a lot like everywhere in my basement here. Sorry if my audio's dropping out here.
I don't have a place for them. Like I have nowhere here at this house. I don't know what I would have done if I would have won. I would have been in trouble.
What would you do to keep me forever?
This is, I don't know. Kelby is just like teenage boy. This is almost a teenage boy sequence. Teenagers, the way they're talking here. Him and Dinesh. She is like using child psychology on him. Plus her pheromones.
So it looks like that ship. So the little model that I have, however they say, it does look like the same ship that's in Fortunate Son, but the Eagle Moss, they always say it's last appearance, first appearance, last appearance, and this they're only saying its only TV appearance is Fortunate Son. So maybe it people think it's a Nausicaan, but I don't know that it is.
That's cool.
A Nausicaan ship.
I thought it looked pretty similar. Could be. Maybe not. Oh, yeah, here we go. Dang. Connor Jr. just took that. Actually, when the camera flipped around to Connor Jr., he was already laying on the floor. But, Trip Tucker took that punch right in the face.
He blew out every junction in the EPS system.
I wonder how long it would take for the ship to, lose its momentum and go off, like adrift like that.
Well, with the...
that was pretty instantaneous, right?
Yeah, I mean... that didn't really, it shouldn't have stopped, so it shouldn't have slowed down so suddenly. It should have just kept its thing going. It should have kept its momentum going. The planet's gravity is going to bring it down eventually, but it wouldn't be affected that much, I wouldn't think. Mm-hmm. Unless there's something special about that planet and its composition or something that increases its gravity pull, gravitational pull. High potent pheromone. Bottle some of that and sell it there, Phlox.
Well, in the books, that's what they did. That's what the Venus drug is in Mudd's Women. Is pheromones of Orion women.
That makes sense too.
Oh, good old Christopher L. Bennett, man. That guy gets some deep cuts too.
Yep. Actually, we get into this. The 3 Orion girls here have a starring role.
There it is.
Yeah. They have a nice.
Just shoots himself in the neck. Eh?
He's relying on stimulants to stay awake. He just keeps shooting himself in the neck. Uppers.
So now, what do you think of, like, because he's got this relationship with T'Pol, that he's not affected? Does that work for you?
It's magic. Vulcan magic.
Vulcan mysticism.
Vulcan voodoo, right? Yeah. Again, that actually comes into play, though, in the Enterprise novels, the Rise of the Federation novels. These girls show back up.
Yeah, they do.
And they actually explain a little bit about them, like that they're an elite class. They're in an elite class, and that's why their pheromones are so potent, as opposed to just a normal Orion slave girl. Apparently, there are some that are just normal, and they have no control over people or something like that. So they actually are just slave girls. They're not controlling the situation. But the elitists like this from elitist family or something, they are more potent. It's just hard, though, in my headcanon to wrap around that they are the ones in control. I know we're jumping ahead hopefully people aren't watching their episode for the first time and listening to us talk about it. But it's just so hard for me to wrap it around that they are the ones that are the boss. I don't know.
So you think they have green blood?
That would be interesting. It's green.
Because Orion, Andorians, they've got blue blood, don't they?
Right.
Like we've seen them have blue blood.
Right.
I think that's neat. So in your head canon, what color is Klingon blood? Because to me, it's always pink. Even though we only saw that in Star Trek 6, to me, Klingon blood is pink.
Oh my gosh, I don't know. Like, it's like I would like to think that it is like really dark, like almost black. You know,
Klingons?
Yeah, and not the Pepto-Bismol that shot out. Although that was a really cool shot in Star Trek 6 when it bubbles out of the chest. That was pretty cool. But yeah, that was really pink. It's hard to think that the Klingons, being the warrior, the great warrior classes that they are, the warrior class has pink blood. You know, not that pink is a bad thing. You know, he almost opened the door. She almost pulled Spock on him right there. You know how Spock used to use his telepathy whenever it would work and get people to open doors or do whatever they needed to do, or open the communicator or whatever it was that he needed them to do. That's funny too. That the Mako sitting there staring at her. God, that was a dirty look.
We need to get the engine back online. I don't want to be a sitting duck when Arad Sar gets here.
Everyone's sweating. Also, a lot. It's like they're dealing with some stress, like physical stress or something.
Well, they're all like crazy aroused, so I don't know, like
so their adrenaline's pumping and their blood's flowing more, you know, and that raises their heat, their body heat temperature probably.
You really think they're coming after us?
Except for Trip, and he's just chilling.
Yep.
Thanks
he's got T'Pol.
Thanks to T-Paul. She's got him under control there.
I was so damn naive.
There's this big bruise on his chin, eh?
Yeah.
I wonder if it's... Yeah, I guess they kind of said that it's only because he's with T'Pol and like it's some weird Vulcan bond, but I wonder if it's like if anybody was in a relationship, they would not be affected.
I think it is going... We're going to go back to Vulcan voodoo. We're going to go back
voodoo?
we're going to go back to the Vulcan mysticism thing and something about, you know, her Katra and his Katra or his soul or whatever, their soulmates or something. I don't know. I don't think... That would be a good test, though. That would have been a nice test if someone else on the ship, you know, like a couple of crewmen or somebody, were actually in a relationship.
like with keeping a clean rating for our podcast here, like if you were in a relationship with somebody and you were able to like release the pent up tension, like maybe that tension would go away. I don't know.
Right. Well, she mentions that it's a psychic bond.
Yeah, I guess they do talk about that. So
she's talking about having daydreams about you, and you're having daydreams about me, and like, oh, have you been to my happy place, my white happy place?
Had we seen that by this point?
I don't.
Oh yeah, because of when he was on the ship, right? Yeah. On not Discovery, on Columbia. Keep wanting to say Discovery because that's all I got in my mind right now. 3 more days, Floyd. 3 more days.
Yes. Tactical alert. I got rid of the read alert.
They never called it read alert. It was just that one time at lunch he's sitting there, he's like, we should call it read alert.
That's great. Knock off one E and you got a red alert. There you go.
Okay, so here, this is the scene now. We got the green guy back, and this is where we get the reveal of how they're in charge, and the men are really the slaves. And does that work for you?
Yeah.
It does?
Well, no, like it's just so hard for me to wrap my head around that. That's an interesting ship.
Mm-hmm.
The cannons. It's kind of fat and chunky. Their ship kind of appears. It's not very sleek.
Yeah.
It's very decorated though, I think. If you see it again when the from the looking at that top, it looked like it had like decorations or something on it. Similar, I mean they dress very ornately. The Orions do, males and females. It'd be interesting to actually see the planet.
Well, the coloring of it too, behind him, like on the walls and stuff, it's kind of the coloring that was on that automatic missile that Torres had to deal with in the Delta Quadrant that she had programmed with her own voice and stuff. It's like that same kind of color. I wonder if they might have duplicated a set there or like reused a set there.
Right, I had forgotten about that. That's actually a good episode of Voyager.
Yeah, I like that one. It's her own voice, which then she uses for the computer too. Hey, so
is it called Dreadnought?
Dead Stop. Is it called Dreadnought? Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah,
I think that's the episode.
And then she's the voice on Dead Stop.
Yep.
Oh, I love the idea of the grappling hooks at this time too.
Yeah. Tow cable. Here we go.
Thrusters full astern. It's not enough.
But if you guys haven't read the post-finale novels, you really should. Like, they're so good. The first one is kind of called Last Full Measure, where they first plant the seeds of what they're going to do with the post-finale novels. It's actually a novel that takes place during Season 3 in the Xindi War arc, and it takes place very early in Season 3, but there's this opening and closing epilogue and prologue that introduce something that, without spoiling, which I'm sure everybody knows what happens anyways, introduce a character that we'll see again in the post-finale novels.
They control you. You finally realize that.
Oh, there goes the iPad. So it's up to the two only sane people to save the day, I guess, hey? The two.
Yep. Sorry about that. I don't know what is wrong with my iPad. It's got to be something to do with the Blu-ray or the microphone. I don't know. It's so odd.
It doesn't like Bound either.
Apparently not. It's really like trying to like. It really doesn't want to be in this room.
It's actually not that bad this time. We picked this one because I messaged you. We're like, we should do one of the bad episodes of Enterprise. Like, do a commentary on because those are the fun ones. Like, I did the commentary for "And the Children Shall Lead" on Standard Orbit, and Zach and I had a great time with that one. But this is actually not that bad. It's not as
well. It sets up the rise of the Federation.
Yeah,
I mean this sets it up. And the girls can just walk around and do whatever they want to do because they've got superpowers.
I'm going to dress up as one of these Orion girls for Vegas this year.
Oh, my goodness. Wow. Wow.
But I don't have time to get into shape. And I definitely don't have time to shave.
I guess you could be a male. You could be an Orion male.
Orion slave male?
Yeah.
Orion slave boy.
Yeah. I don't think, yeah.
I could dance like them too. I'm just so cat-like.
Wow. That's a
Just
whole
a reminder,
other,
everybody, I'm really fat. So
that's a whole other commentary track right there, man. Get a YouTube
well, another
video.
thing that happened in the post-finale DS9 novels is Quark got a Dabo boy.
Oh, right.
You know, so...
Uh-oh. Let's send a feedback charge up the
The
cable.
good old feedback charge. How many times have they used that on Star Trek? Once or twice.
Yeah, maybe.
I'm impressed.
Yeah, doesn't work on me. Says
Fake out.
Says Tucker.
Captain Archer runs this ship. You're sweet talking the wrong guy. Let's go.
They're all disappointed.
The looks on her face. Like, it didn't work? That's odd.
Starlog supplemental. The Orion women have been returned to Harat Sar, who's headed home at very low impulse.
And then now she got a blue outfit. Look, this is her third outfit this episode.
Wow.
Or did she have the...
I had
She
not
didn't have the
noticed
blue
that.
one.
I hadn't noticed that. No, she wasn't wearing the blue one earlier.
Oh.
I hadn't noticed that actually watching this episode.
Someone spiked the water supply. Yeah.
Is Phlox's hair getting... Is he getting any more under control now?
Well done.
Thank you, Captain.
There we go, Justin Hoser, if you're listening. This is the episode I was talking about in our top 3 Phlox moments when he just jabs himself with an injection.
I'm glad
I
we
knew I
found
wasn't
that.
crazy.
I'm glad we found that episode because I wasn't sure. I thought I'd seen it also.
I knew I wasn't crazy.
The women are in charge. And T'Pol gives him a zinger.
It almost sounded like you were making a joke.
At least trying to make one.
I assure you, if I ever decide to make a joke, you'll know about it.
They're talking about her, how she... Did she just make a joke? I think that was a joke. If I made a joke, you'd know it, basically.
Good old TOS Laffa ending.
Yes, yes. A laugh at the Vulcan under the Vulcan's at the Vulcan's expense. That was very TOS right there.
Even more now that we're in each other's.
They didn't go to a freeze frame. Is that what it's called when they all laugh, throw their head back, and it freezes? You know, or something
That's
like
like
that.
one of those, what do they call it? Those, not a stereotype, but it's like one of those things that people think happen all the time but didn't happen. I don't
trope?
think it ever happened.
It was a trope.
A trope. There. I don't think it ever happened on the original series where they had a
think
freeze
it happened
frame.
once. I want to say it happened once.
I think it was like maybe this. What's the Gangster Planet one?
I think your presence.
It's like
Piece of the action.
they freeze and then it's got an overture, you know, like a song overture on it, and then it shows the ship fly away.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what you mean.
Uh-oh. Trip's playing hard to get.
Wait.
You want me back, don't you?
So I've said it before. Trip and T'Pol is the only relationship that I was ever a big fan of. Worf and Dax second.
I'll think about it.
The rest of them I didn't care
Honestly, I didn't. I guess Worf and Dax. I saw Trip and T'Pol more. If I had to
kissing.
do it. Wow. She went for it.
3 days ago.
He's so proud.
Enterprise.
3 days ago.
I realize this is where I was meant to be.
Look at old Trip there playing poker with her.
Thing between
He's
us?
sitting there. Yep, I already asked for a transfer back. I was just bluffing.
Agreed.
Guess we got lucky.
Okay, yeah. See, now I'm remembering. Yeah, so he wasn't officially back on board. He was just left behind to clean up after the last two parts. That's right now. Okay, yeah, it's coming back to me. I haven't watched this in, well, I guess a year and a half now, right? Was the last time that I watched this one. So, there we go. Bound.
Awesome.
What do you think?
I like that because I know that it's going to continue on in the novels. You know, I like the episode in that. There's it's just hard for me to wrap my mind around the girls being in charge. They're the ones that are actually directing everything. It's just, I don't know, it's so hard given that the way they were set up as being slave girls, you know, and being submissive types and things like that. But I mean, I guess they're the ultimate Trojan horse in that they can get anywhere because no one's suspecting it, and they're actually the one running the whole show. So what do you think about it?
Well, I don't think that it works, but I'm glad that they tried to do something. You know, and I think it's hard because it's one of those things that says Star Trek, the Orion slave girl, you know, like it's on advertising, and it's one of those things that people think of, like the green alien women, right? And I appreciate that they tried, but I just don't think that it worked. And it's a good episode. And watching this again, you know, it's one of those ones where you think of it's like, oh yeah, it's that one. But then when you watch it, it's better than you remember. So those are my final thoughts on it, I guess.
Yeah, it does make it it makes it interesting. It makes me think about it a lot more. It's not so cut and dried and so simple. If you go all the way back and you think that some of those girls were in charge, not all of them, because we find out in the books it's not all of them, but some of them actually are in charge of everything. Mm-hmm. But cosplaying as an Orion slave girl is not the only thing we've been talking about on Trek FM this week. So here's what you may have missed elsewhere on the network.
Previously on Trek.fm, Melodic Treks.
I really like the two Fairhaven episodes that we got. I know a lot of people are either very hot on these episodes or very cold on them. They've never bothered me. I think they're a lot of fun, and they're silly, but whatever. But one of the things that's really cool about them is we get something different in the musical field for Star Trek with this wonderful Irish-style music.
Earl Grey.
Well, I just noticed mine deals with all naked people.
Yeah. Richard!
Wow. All right.
Wait a minute. Oh, Justice Tapestry. You're right.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh!
I just noticed that. I was like, oh.
There's nudity in each of those episodes.
Well done.
TVMA.
Warp 5.
It was a weekly thing. It was originally on Tuesdays. At some point, Tripp decided to make it a nightly thing, or at least that was his idea, but then it went back to a weekly thing. I'm like, that sounds just like my life, because this is the type of thing where it's like, yeah, you get together every Tuesday, and then you gotta wait a whole week, and at some point you're like, we should be doing this every day.
To the journey!
Yeah, I mean, the way that he behaves towards B'Elanna is kind of... He gets a bit creepy there.
Well, he gets punched too, just like Joe Carey, so...
He does. B'Elanna makes a habit of punching her staff.
It's team building. It's like trust falls.
It is team building. Maybe it's like some kind of exciting club.
Yeah, I've been punched by B'Elanna Club.
I've been punched by B'Elanna, and I'm obviously now in the inner circle. Engineering.
And that's what else is happening on Trek.fm.
Check out these shows and find out what we're talking about in your favorite corner of the Star Trek universe. If you're an Apple user, be sure to hit that subscribe button in Apple Podcasts on iPhone, iPad, Apple TV, or the desktop iTunes app to get the latest episodes as soon as they're published. And while you're there, please leave us a star rating and written review. And if you're not an Apple user, we've got you covered. You can find our shows on Google Play Music, Stitcher, TuneIn, Spreaker, SoundCloud, Windows Phone, and most third-party apps. And you can stream and download the MP3 file or grab the RSS link from our website. And according to earlier, Brendan's got that completely straightened out now, right?
You bet.
All right. And as we mentioned earlier, go to the Babel Conference on Facebook, type BABEL into the search field, get right in there. You can find our show announcement, get right in on the comments. What do you think about Bound? What do you think about the Orion slave girls actually not being slave girls at all, but actually being the bosses? How does that work for you? What's your explanation for it? Help us out there.
And also, we will try and get your comments read on the show. We're going to make an extreme effort to get those on. But just remember that it'll be every other episode because we record 2 episodes in one night. So we're gonna do our best to start reading your guys' comments online. So go to the Babel Conference.
Yes. And then also, if you want to, you can find our network on Twitter at Trek FM and on Facebook at facebook.com/Trek FM. And if you'd like to leave us a voice transmission, you can go to speakpipe.com/Trek FM, record your message, and Brandon Shea will add it to a future episode. I always like to thank our associate producers, co-associate producers. It's Mike Morrison, Tim Cooper, Justin Oser, and Mark Flessa. Thank you so much, guys. They support Warp 5 and Trek FM through Patreon. Just go to patreon.com/Trek FM. That's patreon.com/Trek FM to get all the details. You can check out all the perks. We have early access. We have exclusive content. You can also get an associate producer's credit if you want to jump to that level. And you can jump right in there and help us out. You can get right in with the network. I mean, that's how I got started. And that's how Brandon got started, actually.
You bet.
Also, thank you so much, Tony Robinson, for creating the coolest show art, and Brandon Shea for the editing and publishing of Warp 5. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So, Brandon, if somebody wanted to email you or tweet you or maybe send on Facebook some patterns for a possible Orion Slave Girl pattern for your cosplay, how could they get in touch with you?
Oh, well, you can come over and you can size me up here in Saskatchewan. Just make sure you have a really long measuring tape, really long, for my belly.
Wow. Yes. So
but if you want to talk to me,
with you?
okay. If you want to get in touch with me, you can find me on Twitter at Brandon Matella. You can find me over on The Edge, which is our new Star Trek Discovery podcast. And I guess, you know what? Let me just look at the calendar. I guess dropping today, so just in a couple hours, is going to be our first reaction of the first episode. It's coming so quick. I'm so excited. And you can find me over on the Fandom Podcast Network with my buddies Chris and Tom, where we talk about Alfred Hitchcock podcast with Good Evening and Alfred Hitchcock podcast. And you know what? I think that episode's dropping today as well. We're talking about Bates Motel. Boy, today's a busy day for me in podcasting. So if you like Bates Motel Season 1, check it out, and we got a fun review over there. What else? I guess I'm in the Babel Conference, and is that everything? Is that it all?
Sure.
Yeah? Okay, so Floyd, where can people find you when you're not punching your boss because you're aroused from green alien coworkers?
Oh no. Yeah, I guess you could find me ranting on the Babel Conference, because I would be overreacting from the female pheromones there. Yes, the Trek FM listeners page on Facebook. I like to pop in there every once in a while and see what's going on. And yeah, it's a cool place.
Man, I just dread going to the bar with you.
No kidding. That's what this was. This is like the worst bar experience with all these guys here, right? And all the girls have headaches. So, man, it was just a terrible experience, right? So, Boomers, thank you so much for listening, and join us again next time for another episode of Warp 5.
Recording. Green pants.
All right. Barely any pants.
Yeah.
No pants. Oops. Wrong spot. Here we go. I'm a little worried. I'm using a PS3. An older PS3. I've been using a PS4 whenever we've been doing this, but my son's got the PS4 locked down.
Uh-oh.
He's playing Destiny 2. So there was no negotiating that. Holy cow.
What was that?
It was my iPad. Oh my gosh.
Sure,
I just put it.
Just died.
I put it. No, I put it to sleep.
My kids sound like that when I try and put them to sleep too.
Oh my gosh. Have you ever heard anything like that?
No.
I'm not using it. I wonder if it has something to do with the microphone. But I've used it before. Wow. Okay, I guess. Huh. Wow. That's not good.
It sounds like a cat. Hey, go to sleep.